All right, we are going to go through section A checkpoint together. So your job while I am doing this is to take a look at your answers and what you did and write down what I'm writing down in a different color so that you have a comparison of the work that we're doing together in this video and the work that you have already done. And then you're going to be reflecting on what you can do differently next time you approach a problem like this, or if you got it completely correct, something that you feel like you did really well on this problem. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with this problem. This problem says, which figure has greater volume? Explain your reasoning. So one thing that I noticed was that sometimes people ended up miscounting, and they were telling me that these were exactly the same. So if I go ahead and I count the cubes, which in this case, on this figure, we would want to count the cubes since it's such an irregular shape. It's not something like this. It's not easy to multiply. So right here, I can see that we have 3 by 3, multiply and get 3 by 3 is 9. So that I can easily do here, but on this one, I can't do that. So I am going to count each individual cube. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, okay? So when people were counting, some people counted some of these cubes twice, some people forgot this cube in the corner, some people forgot this cube here. So when you're doing these problems like this, just be really aware of what you're doing, okay? So many of you then circled A and moved on. However, the question does say which figure has a greater volume. So you need to actually say figure A has a greater volume okay? Then it asks you to explain your reasoning. So we're going to say figure A has a greater volume because it has a volume of 10, which is larger than the volume of figure B, okay? So we need to make sure that when we are counting cubes and figures that we need to count cubes instead of looking at layers and rows, that we are counting each cube, so we need to take our time. We need to make sure that we answer the actual question that's being asked, and we need to make sure that we explain. So go ahead and pause now and reflect on your response to this problem and how you can either make it better or what you did very well. All right, so let's go ahead and look at number 2A. So I saw people approaching this problem in a lot of different ways. And some of the things that I noticed is that sometimes people are counting the faces, so just counting all these cubes that they can see and saying that's the volume. I've noticed that some people are looking at this and just counting all the area, so finding the area of each face and using that at the volume. However, we are going ahead and we're going to go past that now, and we are going to look at picking a base. So we're going to pick a base first. So in this case, I'm going to pick this as my base. Okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cubes here by 1, 2 here. Okay? And it has a width of 1, 2, 3. So then I end up having 5 times 2 times 3. That 5 times 2 gives me 10, and then I multiply by 3 and I get 30. Now, not everybody looked at it this way, and that's perfectly fine. Some of us are looking at it, and we are counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're saying I've got 10 cubes, and I'm going to do 10 times 3 gives me 30. Okay, some of us are looking at it like this. We're still counting the cubes there, and that is perfectly fine. It gets us the correct answer. Some of us are also looking at this top layer and recognizing that we have 15 cubes in this top layer, and that we can do 15 times 2 to get 30. Okay? And some of us are recognizing that we could use this as a base and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers and do 6 times 5 and get 30. So there's all different ways that you can look at it. However, what you need to remember is that you need to pick a base. So this could be my base, or this could be my base, or in this case, this could be my base. So you need to pick a base. You need to count how many cubes are in that base, and then multiply that by the number of layers that you have to get your volume. So now go ahead and reflect on what you did and what you can either do differently next time or what you've done well. All right, so looking at B, this one was one that was really tricky for some people, and it can be really tricky because we don't have all the cubes in there. So we're looking at this and we're like, well, I see all these cubes that are here, I guess I'll just count that. But what they're actually wanting is to know the full volume of the prism as if all of the cubes were there. They want to know what the volume would be with all of the cubes filled in. So we have learned that what we need to find area, so what we need, to find volume. To find volume, we need a base, and we need a height, or number of layers. That is all we need. That's all we need. So in this case, it would be easier for me to use this as the base, this bottom layer as the base, and it would be practical for me to use this as the height. All right, so I can see my base here. Now I could count all the cubes if I wanted to, or I could look here and see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 1, 2, 3, 4, and solve for the area of the base. The area of the base is 20. And I have 1, 2, 3 layers. So I have 20 times 3. 20 is my base. 3 is my height, or the number of layers I have. And that gives me 60. So even if the figure is not completely filled in, so it looks like it's not completely filled in, as long as you can find the base and the number of layers or the height, that's all you need. So when you see one of these, you're not just counting the number of cubes here. You're finding the volume by looking for the base and the height or number of layers. Go ahead now and reflect on what you did for this problem. All right, we have another problem here. This one says to explain or show how the expression 4 times 6 represents the volume of the rectangular prism in cubes. All right, so this is another one that we want to look at what the question is actually asking us. So they want us to prove that 4 times 6 represents the volume of this. They do not want us to show them any other way that we can find the volume. They want us to prove that 4 times 6 represents the volume here. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this. And I see 4. Okay, so what on here would represent 4? Well, I see here 4. So it looks like I have 4 layers. I have 4 layers here. So this 4 is the number of layers. Now I'm looking for 6. Well, I see 6 here on this top. So that must mean that my base is 6. Okay, so this is my base. I have 6 cubes in my base, and I have 4 layers of 6 cubes. What they want you to do is prove that. So this right here is a perfectly fine explanation. You could go ahead and elaborate and say, I know that 4 times 6 represents the volume. Because there are 4 layers with 6 cubes in each layer. You could leave it at that. You could do it like this, or you could explain more in words. But what we see here is that 4 represents the number of layers and 6 represents the base. All right, your job now is to reflect on this last problem, and then you guys will be working on an exit ticket related to this. If you still have questions, please let me know.